Welcome back to the Relaxing Ghost channel here on YouTube. Today we got a special video for you guys. We are going to be looking at the 2-year championship reign of Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. That's right. Roman Reigns. As of the release of this video, August 30th, 2022, Roman Reigns has now passed 2 full years as WWE Universal World Heavyweight Champion. It's a hell of an accomplishment in any era to be champion for well over a year. But to get past that 2-year mark, only legends have done this. Only select few have done it, matter of fact. And in fact, I think only about three people have done it in WWE history other than Roman Reigns. That includes names like Bruno Sammartino, Bob Backlund, Pedro Morales, and Hulk Hogan. 4 icons of wrestling. A reign like this hasn't been seen in 40 years. It hasn't been since the Hogan era, since someone has even passed, I think it's like, 380 days, which I think Cena done. So it's been a long time. 38 years Hogan won his championship in 1984, before many of us were even born. So this is going to be a really fun video for us today, and hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to be really cool to look back at some of these matches and take a trip down memory lane. We're going to look through the DVD sets here today and look back at some of Roman Reigns' best and worst matches. And yeah, it all started during the COVID-19 pandemic. So WWE had moved out of their performance center at this point in time, and they were now in the Thunderdome at Tropicana Field, I believe, or can't remember the exact thing. But if you are new to the channel, take some time, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know some of your favorite Roman Reigns matches. I can already guess a few of them off the top of my head, but we're gonna go, piece by piece. Not every single match he's had over these last 2 years. That would take, a couple of hours probably, but we are going to cover the big matches here. There's 24 pay-per-views here to go through, guys. So I hope you guys appreciate this. This is just kind of a spur-of-the-moment video I'm putting together for you. So, yeah, we got to go back to SummerSlam. I guess it was called the Amway Center. Yeah, it was the Amway Center. Just briefly looked it up. That was Tropicana Field was the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa, Florida, in which WrestleMania 37? WrestleMania 37 was held? Supposed to be 36, but moved to 37. So yeah, very confused. A lot of Florida pay-per-views over the past few years, as there wasn't a lot of attendance in some of these shows. Sometimes zero. So yeah, getting back to SummerSlam. Um, we all know the story of the COVID pandemic. Zero fans, no attendance. So WWE created this Thunderdome type deal, which at first it was cool, but as time went on, I think it just became pretty hokey in that. But at first it was pretty cool, honestly. I really dug it and whatnot, but it was a kind of a way to bring fans into the arena without bringing fans in the arena. Um, so Roman Reigns was immunocompromised due to his leukemia and things like this. So he took a leave of absence from WWE for almost 6 months, I would say. From the end of what was that? The end of February, end of March. Yeah, his last appearance was February 27th and 28th in Super Showdown, and a Friday Night SmackDown appearance versus King Corbin. Man, I just dread those days of Roman Reigns getting tied up eating dog food, and that was awful. I really felt bad for Roman Reigns to even be in that position, but it's almost like he had to go through that to become the tribal chief. In a way, uh, like that stuff was just awful. I'm glad they quickly moved on from that, and never kind of went back. So Roman Reigns, was immunocompromised, took some time off from WWE until, we kind of understood what was going on with this virus and things like this. So fast forward a few months to SummerSlam, where the Fiend Bray Wyatt is now the WWE Universal Champion. And, or actually Braun Strowman's the Universal Champion. It was supposed to be Goldberg and Roman at WrestleMania. Braun Strowman defeats Goldberg in probably one of the worst matches ever. Bray Wyatt was super over. They had some terrible matches with Strowman and The Fiend. And Roman Reigns returns to a very well-received return. Man, this was hype. And he had the T-shirt, wreck everyone and leave. And maybe that's a bit foreshadowing of maybe Roman Reigns. This is one of his last runs. Who knows? He might have signed a multi-year deal, and at the end of this deal, he might be retiring. Who knows? Just speculation. Just speculation. So anyways, the Fiend wins the title. Roman Reigns comes in and just kind of knocks them both out. And there's a pay-per-view a week later called WWE Payback 2020. And yeah, this was only a UK exclusive DVD. So if you don't have this one in your collection, don't panic. It's a UK exclusive. You can probably find it for about $10. So Roman Reigns quickly gets a match here, challenging The Fiend, who defends the title in a triple threat against Strowman and Roman, and a very confusing time. Strowman, Roman, Bray. So Roman Reigns wins the title in pretty dominating fashion. And, if we all remember Roman Reigns prior to this, fans rejected him at all ends of the line. Fans rejected him till the end of time. whether he was in there with Drew McIntyre or Bobby Lashley, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar. The fans, they did not want Roman Reigns to be this guy. And honestly, man, I could say this now. I'm probably a bigger Roman fan than I ever admitted. The guy was super over, and it's kind of a shame that this stuff happens in wrestling, but it's kind of cool that fans can kind of dictate what can happen. So April 30th, 2020, Roman Reigns officially begins this 2-year reign as WWE Universal Champion. And, he would not appear every week. He wouldn't even appear every month at times, maybe once a month. I thought this was pretty smart in a way. Roman Reigns, who was immunocompromised, you're protecting him. You're protecting guys from injury as well. You're not competing in front of fans. So there's no gate revenue. There's no merchandise revenue at the arena. There's no live events. So on all costs, revenue is down, but WWE is somehow still bringing in record profits. So Roman would win the title here at Payback. He, like I said, he would have a few matches here and there on SmackDown and whatnot, but we're not going to cover all those. So let's get to Clash of Champions. And this was a start of a really good feud. Jimmy Uso is out with an injury. So who steps up? Jay. And it's Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso in a hell of a match here at Clash of Champions. And, he'd only been champion about a month. And they were teaming up. They had a couple of tag team matches together. And I was a big fan of this. Jey Uso got himself over. He's not just a tag team wrestler. Similar to FTR, those guys can go. Jimmy, Jay, Dax, and Cash Wheeler, those guys can go. They are 4 very talented wrestlers. And, Clash of Champions, very good match. But I think the match that really stands out is Hell in a Cell 2020. That Hell in a Cell match between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. And Roman standing tall with Alpha and Sika. And kind of taking Jey Uso to school here. It wasn't pretty, but Jey Uso put on the match of his career. Honestly, one of the best matches of this man's career. Fantastic. So after that, Jey Uso and Roman are, kind of the early stages of the bloodline. And we get to Survivor Series. I believe they're still teaming up here on Raw and SmackDown and whatnot. Mostly SmackDown. Roman Reigns was on at this time. Roman Reigns would appear sporadically, but he wasn't on every week. And it's kind of hard to even remember when the Paul Heyman stuff started coming together. I guess it would have been, much later on, probably a year after this. Roman's next match wouldn't even be until Survivor Series 2020. The Undertaker's farewell. So it'd be champion versus champion. Universal Champion Roman Reigns against WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. And, you kind of got to feel bad for both these guys because they were having really good matches, both of them. And, it all comes back to the Royal Rumble earlier this year. Drew McIntyre eliminates Roman Reigns, who was hated and he was still hated at this time. And Roman Reigns gets one over on Drew here, and Roman does not lose much, and it's probably hard to tell, just by looking at all these matches, but there's 6-man tags on a lot of live events that they've lost and things like that. So, I don't really count live events, but so yeah, very good match at Survivor Series. That's the one thing I really enjoy about Survivor Series these days, I guess, is the champion versus champion matches. TLC, next event here. Kind of looks like that same picture almost. Kind of same DVD. But yeah, TLC. Another very good match with Kevin Owens. And yeah, TLC match. So yeah, Reigns was just dominant early on in this run. So he'd only been champion, 4 months here? 4 big championship matches. By this point in time, I would say Roman's reign was an A+. 4 fantastic matches. The 2 with Jay, the match with McIntyre, and that match with Kevin Owens. Get to the Royal Rumble 2021. So here's where things are starting to let up a bit in the pandemic, but it's not, completely going away yet. It is starting to look like there's a bit of a bright spot at the end of this. It's a last man standing match, which I'm not the biggest fan of. And again, it's against Kevin Owens. So Kevin Owens, putting Roman over huge here. And yeah, these are the Reigns matches are kind of few and far between here. He did have a match against Adam Pearce on SmackDown, which went to a no contest. After this, I think this is where Reigns' reign or run here kind of takes a step in the next direction. It's a huge step, and he's now in the ring with Daniel Bryan, who's on his way out of the company, and he's going to go to AEW. It's Elimination Chamber 2021. So yeah, we are just starting this thing. And yeah, McIntyre defending the WWE title in the Chamber, and everyone here, it's like, yeah, you guys all fight in the Chamber, and the winner will fight Reigns immediately after. And he defeats Daniel Bryan in 1 minute and 38 seconds. Fans were not happy with that at all. And it led to another match with Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. And this time, Edge is the guest referee, or whatever they called it, enforcer, I think. Yeah, guest enforcer. Edge gets involved. So, Edge, who was out with an injury around this time, remember he got injured around WrestleMania Backlash, the greatest match ever. Edge was out almost a year, and Edge says, "Yeah, I'm coming for your title, Roman." And I honestly can't remember if it was a clean match or what, but I'm guessing it was kind of iffy. So yeah, just briefly reading Wikipedia here, a lot of this stuff happens so quickly that, you kind of forget about little details and things like this. Roman Reigns was pretty dominant here, so, they kind of had a ref bump where Edge was, thrown into the fire here, and Bryan had Reigns tapping. So but there was no referee, and at one point, Bryan accidentally struck Edge, so Edge attacks both Bryan and Reigns, and he's out of here. um, just a weird finish, kind of. And then a second referee comes down, Reigns pins Bryan, and he retains the championship. So yeah, um, not the best match, I would say, but pretty good match. Bryan Danielson and Roman Reigns, decent chemistry. They had a few matches prior to this. In fact, I believe it was the 2015 Fastlane where they had their first match against each other. But I think everyone realized that Daniel Bryan was probably on his way out after this. And this was probably him just kind of putting over Roman Reigns in a professional way. You look back at a lot of these events in between WrestleMania, and there's been quite a few kind of dusty finishes on the road to WrestleMania. You look back at the stuff with Kofi Kingston and Mustafa Ali, and Daniel Bryan here with Edge and Roman Reigns. But I thought this led to a very good main event of WrestleMania 37. Roman's first big WrestleMania main event where he's defending a championship. He'd been in the main event with The Undertaker and Triple H, and matches with Lesnar prior to this. But I don't think any of them, it always felt like Roman Reigns felt out of place here. Roman Reigns was the top dog here, and guys were scratching and clawing to get at his level. Very, very good match. It kind of left a lot to be desired. Wasn't a big fan of the way the match ended, but Roman Reigns with the double stack of Daniel Bryan and Edge. Let's see if that's on here. I don't think it is, but the double stacker. Pretty much stacks. I don't think it's on here, so. Yeah, very good WrestleMania main event, and this was one of those WrestleManias that I think we'll always remember. It's the first WrestleMania, or one of the first events with fans in attendance coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Roman's first, big time main event where he didn't feel outmatched. He felt at another level than who he was in the ring with. When he was in there with Triple H and Taker, yeah, Taker was a bit older at that point in time, but it's The Undertaker, and it's kind of hard to outdo The Undertaker, with all due respect to Roman Reigns. So that I still feel Roman Reigns going over might be a mistake, but who knows? It's really hard to tell, because now, present day, we're a year removed from that. No one would have guessed that Roman Reigns would be champion for 2 years. So we are going to try to fly through this. I know we're going a bit long, but hope you guys enjoy this, talking about Roman Reigns. A lot of people aren't a big fan of him, but honestly, I am. And yeah, so after the triple threat, Roman Reigns is going to have one more match against Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan is done. I think that's the end of his contract, and he is free to sign with AEW, which he does. And I believe he debuts almost right away, right? If it's not right away, it's at their next pay-per-view, I believe, which was All Out 2021. and that wouldn't have been till like September. So Bryan maybe took a few months off and then debuted with AEW. So let's get to Backlash. So yeah, like I said, Roman's not even competing every week or every month. He might have been there every week or every other week, but just from like these big time pay-per-view matches, that's pretty much it for him. He's not really competing on SmackDown at this time either. So first up, he's got a pay-per-view match against Cesaro here, WrestleMania Backlash. A decent match. I feel like some fans give Cesaro a little bit too much sometimes. And man, you thought Cesaro was going to be the next coming of Stone Cold Steve Austin or something like this. It like, man, this guy's never had a title shot, blah blah blah. Settle down, guys. He's good. He's good. He ain't Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels. He's decent. Not to put the guy down or anything, but I mean, Cesaro, you really thought Cesaro was going to beat Roman Reigns for the championship? With all honesty, get with it for a minute, guys. Like, seriously. I honestly never bought, it's kind of like Rusev. I think he challenged for WWE title one time. Did you ever think Rusev would win the WWE title? It was a good match, yeah, but I never thought Cesaro would win the title here. Some of you guys with your takes on that. Yeah, pretty good match, I guess. And this is in May. Reigns' next match isn't until the 2 months later in July, where we have Hell in a Cell. So WWE's pay-per-view schedule was getting all scrambled up. I believe this is where they were supposed to have a Saudi Arabia show maybe in July or something, or June. But anyways, the pay-per-views got shuffled around, and yeah, we had Backlash and then Hell in a Cell, which I don't mind. But Roman Reigns did not compete at the pay-per-view itself. He defended the title against Rey Mysterio inside a Hell in a Cell, though, but on SmackDown. But I guess it was a pretty good match, honestly. It should have been on the pay-per-view. Very good match with Rey Mysterio. Did I ever think Rey Mysterio would have beat Roman Reigns? No. Definitely not. At this point, it's kind of like, okay, how far are they going to go with Roman Reigns? Who's worthy at this point to even beat Roman Reigns? We're about a year into this now, or coming up to it. You know what I mean? And, someone like Cesaro or Rey Mysterio, I'm not putting money down on them to beat Roman Reigns in the biggest run of his career. It's just not happening, guys. It's not happening. And especially at a time like the pandemic, it's kind of like, they're trying to, I guess, book sensibly here, or somewhat, orderly, month-to-month booking. And that's what Roman was, a month-to-month champion. He put the title on the line. He had those big-time matches, but he was not going to lose to Rey Mysterio or Cesaro. Next up, Money in the Bank. A hell of a shocker. And so yeah, around this time is when I guess Jimmy Uso would return. And now we're having kind of six-man tags with the Usos and Roman. They're taking on Edge and the Mysterios. Money in the Bank, though. Now, Daniel Bryan got his rematch after WrestleMania. So now it was Edge's turn. And I thought this was another very good match. But it was kind of the probably the shocker of the year with John Cena returning kind of out of nowhere. I don't think anyone saw this coming. And if anyone would have done it, it probably would have been Cena to beat Roman Reigns. Like that, the match with Edge kind of gets overlooked because of this moment. And this was the first pay-per-view back with fans. This was a hell of a pay-per-view. If you guys have not seen Money in the Bank from last year, do yourself a favor, go back, watch this event. I know it's hard to see, the camera's not the best here, but yeah, Roman Reigns and John Cena in the ring. I believe this was Las Vegas. Yeah, it's hard to oh, this was in Texas, actually. So yeah, very cool stuff. You know, I really love the run Edge was on as well. You know, it kind of sucks that you know, that's just the way things go sometimes with championships and things like that. Because if things were any different, I believe Edge would have ended up with the championship at some point. But heading on to SummerSlam, probably the biggest match of Roman's career up to this point. Yes, he had faced Cena at one point, but it was at a B pay-per-view. Roman Reigns was probably on the middle of the card. Might have even been the main event. But that was what, No Mercy 2016 or 2015? Maybe 2017. Yeah, it was 2017 they had that match, but it was a Lesnar squash in the main event of Lesnar and Strowman. But Cena and Reigns still had about 25 minutes that night as well. You know, I remember that match quite well. It was still very good, but by this point, Reigns is more mature. He's a completely different animal at this point. And I thought this match with Cena was unreal. Unreal, man. And this was the pay-per-view in Vegas. This was a hell of a pay-per-view. From Money in the Bank to SummerSlam of last year, two outstanding pay-per-views with Roman Reigns on top. And then we got another surprise at the end of this pay-per-view. Brock Lesnar returns. He's been gone for a year and a half since McIntyre put him out in the Performance Center. But did Lesnar lose his marbles at the Performance Center? Come on. It was been a while, and it felt really good to see Lesnar back. It felt really good to see John Cena back, who we hadn't seen in a ring in who knows how long at that point. I believe it was, man, probably 2 or 3 years by that point, because Cena had been gone since, you know, he had that match with Taker, but it went 3 minutes. Then he appeared the next WrestleMania, just kind of doing a promo. He might have had a quick squash with Elias, I want to say. That was 2019. He did the Firefly Funhouse, which was cool. I know a lot of people said that was better than the Boneyard match. Please. So, moving on to Extreme Rules 2021. So by this point in time, I think they were just kind of buying time for Reigns and Lesnar. We've seen Lesnar return at SummerSlam, and they've announced a match for Crown Jewel. But before we get to Crown Jewel, it's Extreme Rules. I thought they put Balor in a rough spot here, and I wasn't a big fan of that, because you kind of knew going in that that Balor wasn't going to win, because it's already announced that they're going to Saudi Arabia, and it's going to be Lesnar and Reigns once again. The matches we've already seen a few times by that point. Um, the match was decent. It's really the finish that gets you on this one, where Balor goes up for the coup de grace and the top turnbuckle snaps, and Balor's kind of just done in at that point. So this was Demon Balor versus Roman Reigns. Again, a decent match, just a kind of very weird finish that, this was an Extreme Rules with nothing very extreme about it. So I wasn't really a fan of how they did Balor there. I thought they could have just left kind of Roman out of it maybe, and I mean they had a decent show here. I want to say this was a decent show. So this was around the time where Big E cashed in, and Big E was the champion. But they did Big E pretty dirty as well. Big E just became WWE champion, and he wasn't even on the pay-per-view. He was in a 6-man tag against Lashley, Styles, and Omos. So again, kind of a weird run here for Roman, where it starts off really, really good, kind of dips a bit, but it stays strong there with Kevin Owens. Very good matches with Daniel Bryan, Edge, Cena, Lesnar. Or Cena, we haven't got to Lesnar yet, but the big matches are coming here. So we get to Crown Jewel again. By this point, it's September 2021. They have returned to doing live events and whatnot, and Roman Reigns is pretty much on almost all these shows here, and he's defending, probably not defending the title as much as he should have been on free TV, I guess, but whatever. October 2021, Crown Jewel. It's a pretty good match, honestly. I know a lot of people hate on Lesnar and Reigns. I've honestly enjoyed most of their matches, including their WrestleMania matches, 31, 34, even this year's matches, in that SummerSlam. So I've been a big fan of Lesnar and Reigns, despite all the hate they get. And I believe this was around the time where, we start to see Heyman kind of turn on Lesnar, and the bloodline pretty much becomes complete. So heading on to Survivor Series, where Big E is champion now, WWE champion. So it's pretty cool. Roman Reigns going from Drew McIntyre to Big E, similar to like how Lesnar did the run there, where he faced AJ Styles, Daniel Bryan, and Brock Lesnar had some very good matches there at Survivor Series for a good period. Yeah, the match is what it is. I mean, kind of a clash of styles with Big E and Roman Reigns, but a decent match. And this would be the final pay-per-view of 2021. So heading into the new year, it was announced that it would be Lesnar and Reigns at this new pay-per-view, WWE Day 1. For whatever reason, I think, I'm pretty sure this might have been a work, but Roman Reigns contacted the virus, and I honestly, I'm not a big fan of how they did this still. They throw Big E was supposed to be in a fatal 4-way. That gets turned into a fatal 5-way, and Lesnar beats I believe, Bobby Lashley or someone here for the WWE title. So they protect Big E, but he might have even pinned Big E. I honestly can't remember. Might have even pinned Kevin Owens. But that was a hell of a match. This was a pretty good pay-per-view as well. Man, ever since fans returned, I'm pretty sure of a lot of these pay-per-views have been, pretty good all around. But Roman Reigns was not on that pay-per-view. That's one of the few pay-per-views he missed in this, 2-year stretch. So they get to the Royal Rumble, where it's going to be Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship. And Roman Reigns retains his championship by DQ due to Brock Lesnar interference, pretty sure. And Lesnar at that time is the WWE champion, and he enters the Royal Rumble. And he wins the Royal Rumble, and he challenges Roman Reigns. This doesn't make any sense, does it? Because I believe Lesnar was also the champion in 2020, and he entered the Rumble. But that year, Drew McIntyre eliminated him. And Lesnar came back in 2022, wins a Rumble for the second time. So Lesnar did not need any of this to get a match with Reigns. Did not need to beat Big E for the title. Probably didn't even need to win a Rumble. Let's be honest. I guess it's storyline-wise, it makes sense. Instead of just handing Lesnar title shot after title shot. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm kind of getting this mixed up here. Because I believe Big E won the title at the Rumble. Or at day one. Yeah, Lesnar wins the title at day one. Lashley defeats Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. And Lesnar enters the Rumble. So that all made sense. Oh, very confusing, though. So yeah, Lesnar did win the Rumble. He lost the title here and enters the Rumble. So that's kind of confusing because, going from Big E to Lashley, or to Lesnar to Lashley. And then the match he had with Rollins was decent. I don't think it's that memorable, though. I still want to see these guys, in a pretty decent feud here, not just a couple of one-offs. I think Rollins and Reigns is a money feud that they've been holding off on for quite a while now, and that's a match I'm really looking forward to. It's Rollins and Reigns. Let them go, give them time, and I believe that can be a feud of the year type stuff. But this match here at this Royal Rumble, it was decent. The Usos were banned from ringside. And then we get to Elimination Chamber, I believe. Yeah, so Elimination Chamber 2022, where Lesnar, this is supposed to be about Roman Reigns, but it's, becoming a lot about Brock Lesnar, just because, you got to tell that story because of what it leads up to, I guess. So it's actually Goldberg against Roman Reigns in what was supposed to be the main event or a match at WrestleMania in 2020. So they still have the match. Match isn't that good. I believe it, gets pretty poor reviews, honestly. Kind of what we expected. Couple of spears, couple of jackhammers. Solid win for Roman, but now let's see here. The match goes in the middle of the first match of the night. And by this point, Reigns is now with Paul Heyman. Not sure exactly when that started happening. It was around the Royal Rumble, but it goes 6 minutes with Goldberg. Not Reigns' best match of this stretch of, you're going to have those type matches, though. Not every match can be a banger, like the match with Cesaro. I'm sorry, that still gets me, So Lesnar goes on to win the Elimination Chamber and the WWE Championship. So I believe he's one of the first men to win the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber in the same year. And he won the WWE title twice. So we get to WrestleMania 38. WrestleMania 38. Where it's going to be winner take all, WWE Champion, Universal Champion, Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. I don't know. If anything, I thought Roman's run should have ended here at WrestleMania 38. It's still going, though. We got a few more pay-per-views to get through. It was a decent match. I thought this match was better than expected. It might even be one of their better matches, but it just gets such negative reviews. It's hard to be honest sometimes with some of these. I believe it was Anything Goes, no countouts, no nothing, And this was on a weekend where we had Stone Cold Steve Austin return, The Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame. A lot of good stuff was going on. Yeah, winner take all for the WWE Universal Championships. So yeah, Brock Lesnar does the clean finish for Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns unifies both WWE and Universal Championships. And it's been about 6 months now. They're still carrying around 2 championships, or Roman is still carrying around 2 championships. It's rumored now that Triple H is looking into new championship designs, so that's interesting to look forward to. So after that, we get to Backlash 2022, and it's Roman and the Usos versus who we got here? McIntyre, Orton, and Riddle. It's a very good 6-man tag, but there was a lot of stuff going on around this time. This is May, or the end of May, I believe. I can't remember if the Mr. McMahon stuff started swirling around this time. I think it was the month after this, even after Hell in a Cell. So Roman Reigns, he doesn't defend his title that month. He might have on TV. Yeah, a lot of championship matches on the live events, but on pay-per-view and TV, not too much. And yeah, Hell in a Cell, I don't think he was at either. Yeah, so Roman did not defend the championship at Hell in a Cell. This was a pretty good pay-per-view here. Pretty much highlighted by Rollins and Rhodes in a fantastic Hell in a Cell match. And then, so I guess Money in the Bank, Roman wasn't there either. That was, let's look it up quickly, I guess. But for me, I feel like Roman's reign has been pretty dominant from day one. From those matches with Jey Uso, the matches with Daniel Bryan and Edge, and then the matches he had with Kevin Owens. You know, the matches with Lesnar are sprinkled in. I think people just give them bad reviews because, you know, they've happened more than once. You know, he had the match with Cesaro, a couple of matches with Rollins. And I don't think Reigns was at Money in the Bank. He might have been there, but he was not on TV or did not have a match. So yeah, the main event was the Money in the Bank ladder match, which Theory won. And then SummerSlam, which I don't have on DVD just yet. But I thought that match was very good. Not a big fan of last man standing matches usually, but that one delivered. You know, Lesnar and Reigns, possibly the final time. This might have been a way to write Lesnar off television for a while. And yeah, Triple H is now in charge of creative. Mr. McMahon is no longer the CEO. He's no longer part of creative. A lot of things have changed corporate-wise in WWE. So Roman's run may still continue. I believe it'll end at a WrestleMania, though. They have to build someone up because a guy like Cesaro is not going to come in and just beat Roman in a one-off. I was honestly rooting for Daniel Bryan to do it. Yeah, at one of those pay-per-views. Because usually the Elimination Chamber winner will challenge at WrestleMania. I thought that's what they were going to do. But the match with Lesnar at SummerSlam was a fantastic last man standing matches. They got a tractor involved. They picked the ring 15 feet off the ground, and they used that. Very cool. You know, very cool visual to see all that stuff, and you know, the Usos getting involved, and Roman Reigns was the last man standing. And as in the posting of this video, Roman Reigns has been champion for 2 full years. My favorite matches are probably that Hell in a Cell match with Jey Uso, 100%. And if it's not that, it's the WrestleMania match with Edge and Daniel Bryan. Also, the match with Cena was on another level. Just because it was in the stadium, it was SummerSlam in the stadium where John Cena, Roman Reigns is at the top of his game. I think those are 3 of the biggest points in Roman's career. Some people are saying it's going to be Reigns and The Rock. We'll see. What do you guys think? What have been some of your favorite matches of Roman's reign thus far? 2 years is quite the accomplishment in WWE these days. You know, we're lucky to get, you know, 30 days sometimes in a championship run. You know, although I do think Vince had a bit of amnesia going on. That's going to be a video for another day, though. I have, for the most part, enjoyed Roman's reign as WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion. Comment down below your favorite matches and moments from Roman's reign, and who do you think is going to be the one to take the title or titles from Roman? Thank you all for watching. We'll talk to you later. Peace.